Hello and welcome to another episode of Biblical Unlocks. And welcome to the new year, 2026. I have a lot of plans for this new year. We're going to go through a lot of chapters of the Bible. And I'm really looking forward to building a consistent upload schedule so that all of you can see a new episode every single day. And it's going to be video episodes as well. I'm going to try and really evolve this channel, this show over the next few years, but this next year I'm going to try and make video uploads. There's also an Instagram account called Biblical Unlocks, and there is a YouTube channel if you prefer one of those platforms over the Biblical Unlocks Spotify podcast. That being said, we're going to start with Leviticus 1, which is routinely a very difficult chapter to read because of all the sacrifices that are present here, but we continue reading the Bible nonetheless because the show is designed to help build your habit of reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, and applying it in your daily life, as studies routinely show that those who read their Bibles regularly have significantly lower symptoms of depression, anxiety, and anger, whilst higher feelings of forgiveness, compassion, and a sense of purpose. So if you enjoy episodes like this, please consider following and rating the show. It's free, it helps me out a lot, and you can always change your mind later. And in Leviticus chapter 1, we're going to go through what we know to be the burnt offering, the olah, which is a ritual by which an Israelite presents an animal from the herd, the flock, or a bird at the entrance of the tent of meeting and transfers it symbolically by laying on hands, then slaughters it and has the priest burn the whole offering on the altar so that it becomes a pleasing aroma to the Lord. And the olah is a voluntary act of consecration, substitution, and total surrender. And the context here is that Leviticus unfolds the holiness required for life with God. And chapter 1 begins the detailed sacrificial system that shapes how sinful people can approach a holy God. And the burnt offering is basic and foundational. It signals that fellowship with God requires sacrifice, and that sin's presence demands substitution. We need to pay for the sins that we have committed, because God is holy. And this is a really important concept to understand Leviticus. God's holiness means he is set apart. And if he is set apart, that means only perfect beings can enter into his presence. Notice the first sentence of Leviticus, and we're going to go through that right now. We're going to read the first 9 verses, and the focus here is going to be the burnt offering from the herd. And the question here is, what am I willing to completely give to God? My best things or my leftovers? So let's read verses 1 to 9. The Lord summoned Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting. This is really important. The Lord summoned Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, When any of you bring an offering of livestock to the Lord, you shall bring your offering from the herd or from the flock. Verse 3. If the offering is a burnt offering from the herd, you shall offer a male without blemish. You shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting for acceptance on your behalf before the Lord. You shall lay your hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be acceptable on your behalf as atonement for you. The bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall offer the blood, dashing the blood against all sides of the altar that is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The burnt offering shall be flayed and cut up into parts. The sons of the priest Aaron shall put fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. Aaron's sons, the priests, shall arrange the parts with the head and the suet on the wood that is on the fire on the altar, but its entrails and its legs shall be washed with water. Then the priest shall turn the rest into smoke on the altar as a burnt offering, an offering by fire, of pleasing odor to the Lord. Okay, now verses 10 to 13 here, this is going to be burnt offering from the flock. So we saw burnt offering from the herd, now we're going to see burnt offering from the flock. And do I bring what represents my family in everyday life, or do I protect them from God's claim? If your gift for a burnt offering is from the flock, from the sheep or goats, your offering shall be a male without blemish. It shall be slaughtered on the north side of the altar before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priest, shall dash its bloods against all sides of the altar. It shall be cut up into parts, and with its head and its suet, then the priest shall arrange them on the wood that is on the fire, on the altar. But the entrails and the legs shall be washed with water. Then the priest shall offer the rest, and turn it into smoke on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Lord. Now verses 14 to 17, see the burnt offering of birds and concluding rites. When I'm limited or ashamed, do I bring a small offering, or do I bring nothing at all? Let's read. If your offering to the Lord is a burnt offering of birds, you shall choose your offering from turtle doves or pigeons. The priest shall bring it to the altar, and wring off its head, and turn it into smoke on the altar, and its blood shall be drained out against the side of the altar. He shall remove its entrails, close to its tail's feathers, and throw it at the east side of the altar, in the place for ashes. He shall tear it open by its wings, without severing it. Then the priest shall turn it into smoke on the altar, on the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering, an offering by fire, of pleasing odor to the Lord. Alright, now time for some deep biblical unlocks. As I said before, it can be quite easy to get lost in Leviticus because of how theologically dense it is, but I'm going to go through the first 9 verses, then the next 3 verses, and then the last 4 verses. So nothing to fear here. God speaks to Moses and gives the ritual for a man who offers a burnt offering from the cattle. This is in verse 1 to 9, and you may have noticed I emphasized the first verse. The Lord summoned Moses and spoke to him from. Do you notice from the tent of meeting? There's a reason why I emphasize that so much. And the reason why is because Moses can't enter the tent of meeting. He's not in the tent of meeting. God speaks from the tent of meeting. The preposition used here is very important because Moses is sinful because of the sin of the golden calf incident. Because of Israel's sin, it is impossible now for unholy people to enter the presence of a holy God. So he speaks and gives the ritual for a man who offers a burnt offering from the cattle, and the worshipper brings a male without blemish, right, to the entrance of the tent of meeting. He lays his hand on the animal's head. You see that, verse 4, you shall lay your hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be acceptable on your behalf as atonement for you. So it's a symbolic transfer. Then it's slaughtered before the Lord, and shall be slaughtered. And then the priest, Aaron's son, sprinkles the blood around the altar. The animal is then skinned, cut into pieces, washed, arranged on the wood on the altar, and wholly burned so that nothing remains for the offerer. The result is a smell that is pleasing to the Lord. So what is happening here? The laying on of hands, that is an acted transfer of identity and guilt and responsibility. You're transferring your sins onto this animal. Then the substitution. The animal then dies in place of the worshipper. That is, the shame and debt are carried off and substituted on and placed on the animal, which is then killed. And then totality. The burnt offering is wholly consumed and nothing is kept for self. It's a surrender, complete surrender of the best and wholehearted devotion. That's what we see here. In Genesis chapter 4, we saw Abel presented an acceptable offering. Exodus 29, we saw sacrificial elements in priestly consecration. But the idea of Leviticus, the sacrifices, are all alluding to Christ's perfect once-for-all sacrifice. He was our sacrificial lamb. He was our animal without blemish. And we're going to keep coming back to Hebrews chapter 10 verses 1 to 10. So I'm going to read this now so that you can see how whoever wrote Hebrews saw that Christ was the one true sacrifice once and for all. Verse 1. Since the law has only a shadow of the good things to come and not the true form of these realities, it can never, by the same sacrifices that are continually offered year after year, make perfect those who approach. Otherwise, would they not have ceased being offered, since the worshippers cleansed once for all would no longer have any consciousness of sin? Verse 3, but in these sacrifices there is a reminder of sin, year after year, for it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sin. Consequently, when Christ came into the world, he said, sacrifices and offerings you have not desired, but a body you have prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure. Then I said, see, I have come to do your will, O God. In the scroll of the book it is written of me. When he said the above, you have neither desired nor taken pleasure in sacrifices and offerings and burnt offerings and sin offerings. These are offered according to the law. Then he added, see, I have come to do your will. He abolishes the first in order to establish the second. And it is by God's will that we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all. Wow. Again, very important theological significance here. In verses 10 to 13, if the offerer brings a sheep or a goat as a burnt offering or olah, the procedure is the same. It has to be a male without blemish, lay on hands, slaughter at the tent of the entrance of the tent, and then the priest sprinkles the blood and burns the whole animal at the altar. The same theology applies whether the gift is a costly bull or an everyday lamb. God requires sincere surrender and substitution, and the priority is not the size of the gift, but the condition of the giver's heart, the heart posture. Very important. Again, pointing forward towards Christ. Why does it have to be a male without blemish? Because Christ was a human being without blemish in the sense that he was sinless and therefore could take on the sins of other people. Verses 14 to 17, when someone cannot afford an ox, a sheep, or a goat, they could bring a turtle dove or a young pigeon, and the worshipper brings the bird to the priest at the tent entrance. The priest rings off its head and sprinkles its blood on the altar and burns it entirely. And the chapter closes with the words that describe how this offering is to be done. That is, how you need to tear it open by its wing without severing it, and how it shall be turned into smoke at the altar, on the wood, and so on and so forth. That is all to say that God's system makes space for the poor. Sacrifice is not just for the wealthy, and true devotion is judged by willingness, not wealth. Even a small, costly personal gift offered rightly communicates wholehearted surrender. And it's important because you can't leave out other people simply based on their financial predicaments. But at the altar, it's important to recognize that we see total consecration, total surrender. Where during Leviticus 1, it actually speaks to our own struggles with temptation and lust. So for example, the worshipper themselves lay their hands and substitutes and burns the whole offering. The idea here is, lust flourishes when we compartmentalize. That is, we want God's blessing, but we keep secret things for ourselves. The burnt offering's demand is that everything is consumed, and it exposes the heart's divided loyalties. If we want to be free from lust, from temptations, from other sins, something must be offered up honestly and wholeheartedly, completely offered up. So you need to ask yourself, what secret desire are you trying to keep whilst you pretend to worship? And you need to lay it down before the Lord in the same way they laid out their burnt offerings for the Lord. You can't, again, I said this yesterday, you can't feed on the word and snack on sin. You need to be wholeheartedly committed to the Lord, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You need to make sure that Christ's substitution was real and work it out. And do you live as though Christ has already borne your guilt? When tempted, what do? You have to mark that you have transferred your impulse away from the idol and onto Christ. So that's it for this episode of Biblical Unlocks. This show is designed to help you keep up your habit of reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, and applying it in your daily life. I upload daily, so if you don't want to miss tomorrow's episode, feel free to rate the show and follow. Otherwise, just have a blessed day. And always remember, if you're not in your word, you're in your feelings. Godspeed.